Boom, boom. We are live again. We're back, Coach's Corner, for another episode of our weekly live show over here at Freight Coach Network. And we are joined by a special guest. He's actually been on my podcast. I had the pleasure of meeting him out in Austin, Texas last year at the LTNA conference. If you guys aren't aware of the LTNA, check them out. Connect with my man, Brad Reinhardt. He's phenomenal. It was one of my favorite conferences that I've ever been at. But before I introduce my guest here, his name's Anes Balic. Before we get into that little introduction, I got to talk to you guys about my sponsor. They help build out this studio and everything else. They're huge supporters of the show, and they're my friends over at Bitfreighter. You know, the guys at Bitfreighter are on a mission to connect the logistics industry with a flat fee for unlimited EDI messaging. Carriers and owner-operators alike, you are costing yourself business by not having a digital option to accept tenders from your customers. With their Load Accept platform, EDI is no longer an expensive and unattainable option for companies who may not have a legacy TMS to utilize for their day-to-day operations. Load Accept levels the playing field for your organization and makes you EDI compliant with your customers through automation. If your customers are requiring you to have EDI capabilities, you now have a seamless and effective tool to utilize in Load Accept. If you're ready to learn more, visit www.bitfreighter.com to request a Load Accept demo today. Just do me a favor, let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Again, the guys at Bitfreighter, they're huge supporters of the show, just like my friends over at Emerge and Trucker Tools. They believed in me for a long time, and it's phenomenal. And, so my guest today, Anes, what's up, brother? Coming to us from Denver, Colorado.
How you doing, brother? I got the coffee with me. Coffee with the Freight Coach.
That's the only way we roll, man, is I got that. I got my fresh pot of brewed coffee. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I had the Freight Coach coffee mug. My cousin made it for me.
You need to send some of those cups over here to Denver so we could advertise for you.
Dude, I'll do that, man. I'm a big fan of Black Rifle coffee. And I'm on their coffee club. So Black Rifle, if you're listening to this, your boy Coffee with the Freight Coach over here really likes your stuff, man. But yeah, dude, so when we met, again, I always like getting out there and talking to people who are involved in the industry. I mean, because when we met, you guys had just purchased, I think you were just about to expand to 15 trucks at the time. You guys purchased 15 trucks at that time.
21 was the original order. And then the order got cut back due to, all the stuff we're dealing with right now to 18.
Jesus, man. So I pulled some numbers for everybody just to kind of bring some context into the show today about where fuel prices are this week. And I get this information on the national average for fuel prices. You guys can check it out as well. It is EIA. That is Edward Isaac Apple, EIA.gov. And it will list out the national average for fuel. And it does a breakdown by regions out there. Currently, it's at $5.13 a gallon, national average, to put that into context. And then also talking about their trucks that they purchased there, I have some updated pricing out there. I just pulled all of this numbers today. The average for a brand new semi right now was anywhere from $160,000 to $230,000 is what I found for a brand new price of a semi. Used trucks, national average was $100,000. Trailers, here's one that kind of shocked me a little bit. Brand new dry vans right now are going for $85,000. Used dry vans were anywhere from 60 to 70. And I look for usable used trailers, not the ones that look like Swiss cheese. Reefer trailers. This one kind of made my jaw drop. $80,000 or $70,000 for a used reefer. And a brand new reefer trailer right now, $124,000.
I was about to guess 120.
Okay. So you've been in this business for a while, Anes. Just to put it into perspective, what were you guys buying trailers at 2 years ago or 3 years ago? And what were your trucks at 2 to 3 years ago?
I mean, I would say the trucks, it wasn't a big of a difference as much as the trailers, I feel like.
Okay.
The trucks, we had a pretty good relationship with the trucks, but the trailers, it tripled almost in a sense. It went from, we're getting stuff for like 20 to 25. Right now it's like 63 to 70.
That's wild. So for them, they haul dry vans out there out of Denver. Also shout out to everybody in the comments right now. Trey Griggs, what's going on, brother? Chandler, my boy Chandler McGon. Chandler, are you still in Colorado right now? He wants to know if you're a skier or a snowboarder, Honest.
I am. We'll have to link up.
All right, perfect.
Go.
Yeah, Chandler, I'll connect you. I you know, if you're still out there. Now, Chandler's a good guy. He's out of Dallas, Texas. But yeah, man. So how, we sit here and people love to dissect the market. Oh, the market, the swings, the shifts, and everything else. And I really wish people would accept the fact that the market is going to be the market regardless. Like, there's nothing we can do. And I think that as an operator, and this is coming from a broker's perspective here, we have to navigate through the markets. Like, there's going to be swings. Diesel prices are going to rise. Rates are going to rise. Capacity is going to be tight. Capacity is going to be loose. But I want people to realize, like, if you're new to this industry and this is something you're in, this is legitimately the best market for you to operate in and learn this in, because if it was easy for you, if all it took is for you to post a load and then you'd have all these carriers, you'd never learn how to broker freight. Anybody can post a load, but the real freight brokers, the ones who sustain through ups and down markets, are contracting with carriers like yourself who have defined areas that you guys run in. You guys have a defined freight type that you like to haul and everything else. And that's what we need to get to. So it's like, from your perspective right now, Honest, how, like, when that initial spike in fuel happened, where it was like a 70 cents a gallon, essentially overnight is what it jumped up. How does a carrier take that and adjust your pricing based off of that? How does that affect your break-even point?
I mean, since we're kind of from the region, we were kind of expecting that it's going to happen. So we were preparing maybe like a month ahead that, diesel was going to spike. So we lifted at least our customer stuff up, and everything else, the rates for our customers, they understand, there's fuel surcharge because, they're our customers. We use them every week. We come back to them. But brokered freight, when you're getting backhauls, I feel like that's, it's a little bit shaky. It depends what's out there. It depends how many trucks want to come back. It's a lot of factors go into it. But fuel surcharge, and knowing how to calculate fuel surcharge and now when fuel went up is big, because if you don't know how to do that, that's gonna probably bury you. We know a lot of companies up in Wyoming in the last week, like 6, 7 of them closed, 5, 6 truck companies just because of fuel prices that closed.
How, like, okay, I'm genuinely curious right now. How does a spike in fuel like that cause a business to go out of bit, like to fold? Is it out of principle, or is it they were mismanaging their finances?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, you're mismanaging your finances too, but I mean, nobody expects diesel to go up 80 cents in in a month.
Yeah.
Nobody predicts. That's like COVID. Nobody predicts COVID. Nobody predicts that type of stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because like I've always wondered that, because I think that for a carrier to be, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, knowing what your break-even rate per mile cost is at all times is very imperative to the long-term success of your organization on a per truck basis.
We've broken down ours from the first day we started. That was we've filed that down to the nail since the day we started. I remember my dad doing it in a sunroom back in the day.
Yeah.
All day long. I remember it. It was a good learning experience to kind of see all that and see what goes into it and all that stuff. But if you don't know your break even now and stuff, like when fuel goes up and the market is going to continue to drop from what I'm hearing. So you don't know, where you're running, how much money you need to cover this, to cover that. You probably won't make it.
And I think like it's imperative, for any business to know what their overhead costs are going to run. And especially, each truck has different financing, like, and it's kind of playing that market. Like, hey, used truck prices are up. All right. So this truck has to run at, 280 a mile to break even, this is just for example, and this truck that's paid off, they can take freight at $2 a mile or something like that. I mean, again, it's Well, however that looks, you have to have that break even point down there so you know how to properly grow out your operation. And then, because I think like some people get intoxicated by the fact that a load might pay like 10 grand to go to like New Mexico. And then they get to New Mexico and they realize I got to deadhead to Dallas to get a legitimate outbound load out of there. And then you deadhead 800 miles.
And those are those type of states, New Mexico, Colorado, Florida. You got a good inbound rate, but when you get out, normally, you cross your fingers to get out.
Yeah. And so it's like for anybody out there, and this goes to brokers as well. And this goes to playing that market. First and foremost, I want, if you're looking to build sustainable carrier partnerships out there, remove the word backhaul from your vocabulary. Never talk that word at all, because that instantly puts a negative connotation in carriers' eyes that you're trying to beat them up on price, as opposed to Anes, I see you're located in Denver. I have this load in Dallas going to Denver. What do you need? What's your price that is going to make you sustainable and profitable on this lane throughout the year?
And, I see a lot of people, you call in a load, they see you're a Denver area code, he picks up. He doesn't have the rate posted. And as soon as he sees your Denver area code, he offers you minimum. Just because you're going home, he knows you're going home. So it makes sense for you to, let's say, half the loads. I remember running SoCal to Denver this summer, and I would post trucks up every now and again. And you should see some of the desperate guys you get out there. They'll call you begging for your stuff. But when they call you and they're telling you the market is 3,000 or 4,000 and the market out there is 6,000, it's you all you do is laugh at some of those guys.
Yeah.
Because it's that type of industry. When it's good for them, they drop it. So when it's good for us, we gotta take advantage. When we gotta take advantage of the backhauls out.
Yeah. No, absolutely. My friend Andrew Teal, he's in the comments as well. He's got it. He says the flip would be when the carrier says, well, the market / DAT rate says, like the shipper and the broker feels like they're getting beat up on price. And, that's a thing but at the same time, I believe that's the beauty of the free market. I think that when you're out there playing that every single day, that's where you're going to find yourself in. And, cause again, markets are going to fluctuate.
Don't offer $1,000 difference to a guy on a load that normally pays, let's just say, for example, 3,000, you're giving him 2,000. That's just, unprofessional. You're going to get some DAT reviews off that.
No, for sure. And again, and Anes, we've talked about this stuff. I'm never going to say that I've never been that broker who's done that, because I have. There's no, I wanted to make money, I'm
not going to be that guy carrier that said, no, I never, took a broker, for $1,000 loss, or, it happens, it's that type of business, sometimes the broker wins, sometimes the carrier wins. So it's, you kind of never know when is the, each person's time. It could be your time, it could be our time, so it's kind of up in the air always.
No, definitely. And but the thing is I think that as a broker, in my professional opinion, it is your job to get your carriers off of the spot market. Like, I want to find what a carrier like you needs 12 months out of the year on the lanes that you run. I want to find that out so then I can go to my customers, because at the end of the day, capacity is the only thing that actually matters. Like technology, massive fan of technology. I'm a massive fan of it. But as a broker, if your truck doesn't show up, what good is your technology? So it's like, to me, we can't lose sight of building this network of carriers out. And I know that it's challenging. I know that there's a lot of, there's carriers out there that aren't the most ethical. All right. They're like, that's part of it. But guess what, brokers? There's a lot of you out there that aren't ethical either. So it's like, you can't sit there and cry foul when it's hard. It's like, what can you do today to be different? What can you do today to actually build something out there and have those conversations? Like you said, Anes, you knew what was going to happen with fuel a month ago. So therefore you went to your customers preemptively and said, this is going to happen. This is what we'll need when this happens.
We didn't know it was going to take 80 cents spike, but for sure. You knew if a war breaks out between Russia and Ukraine, it's obviously going to affect fuel prices. Everybody almost in the world.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And that's Tony Darnell. The shipper always gets beat up. Tony's great. He's great. Um,
Depends what area you're shipping though, too. You know, that kind of always.
Tony's the number one shipper in West Indiana. Yeah, Northwest Indiana.
Yeah.
um, so honest, like how does everything that's going on right now, how does that change your guys' strategy for the rest of 2022? Because here we are, yeah, rates are starting to trend in down. How does a carrier take what is about to happen or is currently happening? How do you change your operations? Like what pivots do you guys make to obviously remain profitable?
I mean, I guess for the type of carrier that we are, I mean, I don't think necessarily it's gonna that this, let's say, the spot market's not gonna affect us too much because we have our own customer bases. So as long as we keep pushing our customer basis and working, with fair people on backhauls, I think times are tough. If you don't have a customer, that's gonna be, a tough challenge to deal with in this market. But it's that type of industry where I feel like if you don't have a customer right now and you're playing spot market, it's going to be very hard for the next like 8 to maybe 12 months because they're
Yeah.
saying the diesel might go up, this summer up to 6, so that's another almost dollar. So if you're playing spot market, I don't think that's a good idea for the remainder of this year. I think you need to find a loyal customer that you could go to and ship with and kind of run your trucks through them.
No, definitely. 'Cause I've been talking to a lot of drivers recently about all of this stuff. And it's, and the same thing goes to a lot of the brokers that I know, honest, that are running very strategic regions and they don't really, it's not that they don't play the market shifts, they just don't chase the hot freight markets that are out there. Where it's like, oh, hey, it's going to be produce season here in South Florida. So I'm only going to cold call shippers in South Florida right now. Oh, Florida's dried up. Now I'm going to go to this other region. I think that there's a ton of power. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the niche. I'm a big fan of only focusing in on a certain area, and you can develop more freight than you ever thought was possible in some of these regions and stuff like that. But to me, it is so imperative to look at your operation right now. Find, if you're a broker, find those customers that are, you know what, man, like they're not adding up. They're not willing to pay when the market changes or something like that, and they're driving that price down. I think like that's a big step to kind of look into it, and especially playing that. If you're building out a customer or a carrier base right now as well, if you're out there trying to build up your carrier base and the carriers are only like, oh, I just want to go where it pays. I want to go to this. Like, that's not somebody who I would invest my time in building it out. I want to find a carrier who's like, no, these are the 7 lanes that our trucks run in. This is the region that we run in, and this is where it's going to be. I think that's what's going to keep you competitive in this market, in these market fluctuations.
But that's a little bit like I'm the type of carrier where like it's not just 7 lanes that I run. I have trucks that go, all across the United States. So it looks maybe like I'm trying to go everywhere, but it's all through maybe like 3 customers that are sending me through, all of the United States. So I'm looking for always backhauls coming into Denver. So it's kind of like I end up in Florida sometimes. And when some of like the broker guys that I have that I work with, Echo, ArcBest, I work with some of those companies like that. And they asked me, like, what are you trying to do with this Florida truck? You're not going to be able to get him to Denver. Of course, I'm not going to go from Florida to Denver. I'm probably going to move him, somewhere Midwest and then move him to Denver. But it's kind of, planning that your guys know like what your plan is after that truck is empty. So like when he sees a New Jersey truck or a Florida truck or a Virginia truck, he doesn't assume that's maybe going directly back, or maybe he assumes it's going directly back, depending on, your communication and your relationship with that guy.
Yeah, man. So I'm going to give some shout outs in the comments out there. Tony Darnell says, I've never been that guy, but I have been accused of being top 5 in a local region, sarcastically. Chandler, I'll never call South Florida produce. That was part of my learning experience. And Michael Weist, same thing. We've all made mistakes, Chandler. Honest, I kind of want to flip it a little bit here because I want to give some of the brokers that are listening to this some feedback from a carrier on what you need, what you're looking for in identifying potential broker partners and how they can build up that network of core carriers. Cause I that's one of the main and only reasons I found success as a freight broker is building that out and building out my customer network around that. And really, cause again, I'm always about like, you got to start somewhere. All right. Like you can't just play the market every day in different regions of the country. It's very imperative to be strategic in how you're building this out. So what do you look for in if this is a broker that I could see myself working with long term?
I mean, honesty is big. I mean, you don't want a guy, that kind of plays, two sides of the fence. You want a guy that's straight up with you. You know, that's the main thing. I feel like if you don't have honesty, if you're not transparent between the both parties, it's never going to go to step two where you actually book the load and kind of start working with the person. So if you don't have that first step of trust, like where maybe you don't know the guy, but at least you heard of the company or something, along those lines that you could, let's say, trust that company or trust that guy that works for that company. And then just kind of start building a relationship with him directly from there and then go from there.
So do you judge it? Okay. So honesty, yeah, obviously that's huge. When it comes to honesty, so like I just had a conversation last night with somebody about this, and it's like when like posting loads, for example, say somebody posted a load from Dallas to Denver, but it picked up in Roanoke and went to Vail. Are you going to look at that as this person's not honest, or
That's TQL stuff right there, brother. It's right there. Well,
so my thing on that, honest, is if it's for the unseasoned drivers that are out there, they notice big city to big city. You know what I mean? And for me, I think that there's benefit to that in drumming up capacity, but there's a way in how you deliver that message right away. I think it's like, hey, it's actually picking up 20 miles from Dallas and Roanoke. Is that something you would want to hear right away and not selling to you on the fact that, hey, it's Dallas to Denver and then you get the Raycon and it's actually Roanoke? I want to hear your perspective.
Denver and Vail are a big difference.
Okay, sorry, maybe I'm off on my.
I don't mind the Dallas Roanoke, but Denver and Vail, if you tell me it's going to Denver and I end up finding it's going to Vail and it's snowing on top of Vail, that's not good news bears right there, man. That's kind of
So
tough. Don't lie, it's you can't.
yeah,
I hate when you call on a load and say actually it goes to Gypsum, it goes to Durango, it goes to. Why'd you post it to Denver, man? I'm
gotcha.
looking to Denver.
Is Longmount? That's a suburb of Denver, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like 35 miles north of Denver.
So would that be in your
Yeah,
radius of you get it? Okay, cool.
big,
I got
big,
you.
big facility up there. It's a McLean kind of distributor.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Only nights, PM
Yeah.
delivery.
But obviously, if somebody had Dallas to Denver and it was like Waco to fucking Vail, like you talked about, that would be absolutely not.
That's kind of, as soon as I hear it, I'll catch it.
Yeah.
I won't get the Raycon and then call him back. I'll hear it on the phone before I even book it.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. All right, we got Chandler. God damn it, Chandler.
And also when you're booking with customers, also they're like a broker in general. Like if he has on that he has a credit score. Every company sees your credit score. That also is a big factor because if his credit score is not good and you're unsure he's going to pay you, then you're 9 times out of 10 not even going to call the posting.
Yeah. No, I get that, man. And that's one thing that's a big struggle for a lot of new brokers that I think a lot of them find out after they go into business for themselves. And, that's the importance, I think, of getting and being factored, and that's why it is. You need to see that you're factored because at least, from your perspective that the invoice is taken care of, like, that you're going to get paid if it's a factored broker, right? Is that in lieu of
on DAT, you see like when a load posts, you have that check mark and you
Yep.
click on that brokerage, it'll show his days to pay. It'll show his graph, how many, if his days to pay dipped, if his days to pay went up, if it went down, if his credit score went up or it went down, you see all of that. So in order to kind of, even with customers, we have a system that we do that for customers. You'll see all of his, days to pay, is he paying, how much is he paying out a year, all that stuff kind of plays a big factor into whether you book with that person or you don't.
Yeah. No, I get that. I get that. And that, and again, like I think as a business owner myself, getting paid is very important,
for Phil not being there. That's a good one.
There you go, man. You can turn it in.
This guy's a good broker.
Dude, Chandler's legit, man. He is. Josh Breeze, what's up? He's from guys. Check out Freight Vana if you're not connected with them. Honestly, man, they're doing some pretty big things out here.
Yeah,
and
I've heard of them.
Perfect. So all right, so we got out there, we got the credit score. Now, another thing, what's another thing brokers could do to make them, because again, I put some content out there a few weeks back, about, I think in any freight market, brokers need to look at how do I become a broker of choice for carriers? It's not always a shipper of choice. It's becoming a broker of choice for carriers. Like I think I'm convinced of this, that brokers who are, for the most part doing the right thing, everybody understands you have bad days. They had never have problems finding capacity under any market. So what's on top of that? What's something else that they could be doing?
Consistency is also key. Like you said, like don't be that guy that's there when the market is high. And then as soon as the market drops a little bit and then carriers are, doing this and doing that to outbid other guys, don't just vanish, it's good to kind of keep the consistency with the guy. So you're always on the same page, all year round with him, of where your trucks are at. Because once if he doesn't call you after like 3-4 months, like he loses authority on you as a carrier if he's your rep. If he doesn't book you, and I don't know if you work for if that was at your brokerage like that, if you don't book a carrier within like a certain amount of days, they'll just take that carrier and put that carrier out to somebody else to start booking with that carrier. So
that I never let it get to that point. I was talking to my top 10 carriers every single day.
But if I have guys that ever get to that point, where I've seen Coyote, especially Coyote Logistics, no offense, but like a lot of times it was, it gets to the point where they end up, they see the market, they dips quite a bit. They start dropping their rates, hear from your broker, and then, 40 days hits, your broker's calling me, hey, I need to book you because you're about to go on somebody else's name. Well, I don't know what to tell you because I don't see anything on the book. So what do you do at that point?
I got you. So like an internal thing where there's a certain rep you worked with a couple of times and then they stop working with you and then that'll be put out. Yeah. I've seen that. Seen that. I got you. Rowena, what's going on? Rowena Thornton. She's a friend of mutual friend of mine and Adam Wingfield's. And yeah, man, they're good people. Yeah, dude, I think like that. I never was a fan of that like carrier ownership style thing where it's like, cause I've honestly, dude, I got motherfucked by a carrier once when I was working. They're like, you don't own us. We own ourselves. How dare you and your company think that you're the only person I can book and everything else? Like I'm going to book whoever the fuck I want. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. Got it. Loud and clear. And, but then again though, taking that information, I just found such more success by being in constant communication with carriers like yourself. Where are you this week, Honest? Where are you today? Where are your trucks at? And again, it's keeping you off the spot market because you're going to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're going to be more likely to reach out to me and say, hey, I just had another load fall off in Dallas. Do you have anything for me? Before you go and post that out to the spot market.
The guys that I've worked with consistency, I've already built a truck list and I have like maybe 5-6 guys sharing on the truck list. So they see the live truck list moving every day. So it's not really, it's off a carrier side, you want to make it easier for that broker to work with you too. So when he comes in, he could just click in, he sees where all your trucks are. If he matches anything up, he could call you because you don't want him to be calling you for no reason because wasted time is not good in any type of industry. So if he's calling you, just say hi. That's normally not not the most proficient way to do business. But if he's calling you to kind of match up stuff, then it's good. Because my
Yeah.
broker, most of them call me as soon as they see a match, say, hey, you have a Dallas truck, I have a Dallas to Denver. And then I book it with them, and then we go on. And then he says, you have this type of truck here, Arkansas, looking to go to Denver, or Nashville, looking to go to Denver. And we're always matching stuff up based off that list.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that's the thing is it's like, it's always pre-booking. I mean, how far in advance do you like to pre-book out your trucks?
It depends what area kind of goes into play too. I mean, some areas aren't necessarily worth to pre-book. Some areas are worth to pre-book. And I mean, I would say if it's an area that I do need a pre-book, it's done normally a day or two ahead of time. Because the customer that I have out of here, it's almost LTL work in a sense.
Okay.
You never know when he's going to get empty. It's a lot of stops, all that stuff. So it's kind of you're kind of touching base with him, but he's going to.
Yeah. Now, when you say it's not worth it to pre-book, is that because like that market is just popping and you might get an extra $500 if you hold out an extra day to book your truck? Is that what you mean by that?
Not necessarily. It's like for me, it's not worth it to pre-book because like, what if something goes south at one of the stops where I then screw the broker? I said I'll be there at 11 a.m., but now I can't get there at 11 a.m. because something else happened. That's what I'm trying to avoid, because once somebody gets a reputation that you like to just say, the empty now guys, no matter where his truck is, it's empty now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to be an empty now guy.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's pretty funny, honest.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of those instances.
Yeah.
I want to talk accessorials for a little bit. I want to talk about those hot button, lovely. I'm bringing that. Actually, I'm glad Josh Breeze from Freight Vonda jumped in there because he had a post out there this morning about how our truck order not used still $150, and that got my mind thinking a little bit. What is, it's tough to say what's fair, because there are instances where as a broker, we're put in a tough spot. We're putting you as a driver in the tough spot because things happen. Is it more about the delivery than it is the dollar amount? Is it more like, hey, this is what's going on. I didn't know this. You're in a bad spot. I'm in a bad spot. I'm going to get you every dollar I can. Or what is it that you look for on improving that? Because I understand you got your position where it's like, hey, we're here for 5 hours. What the hell's going on? Do we leave? Can we go? Our driver needs to use the restroom, whatever that looks like. What do you look for in that instance?
I mean, when it's truck order not used, nobody's excited to see a truck order not used at the end of the day. That means, you wasted some time, you already started the driver's clock that day. So that's gonna put you already back that day. But if a broker, at least, I've seen guys that just cancel the load on you and don't give you a truck order. Say, hey, the customer canceled the load on me. I can't get a truck order not used, even though you routed your truck already over there. But the respect of a truck order not used is definitely, it definitely goes a long way. The amount of it kind of varies. I've seen people go from 250 to 150. That's the 2 points I've seen. I mean, from my side, I'd rather it be 250. From your side and a lot of other people's side or brokers' side, they probably want it 150 or something like that. But it's kind of, as long as you're getting something when that happens, I feel like it's fair, so it's something exchanged for a cancellation that you already routed your truck there, something that kind of shows some type of respect. Yeah, hey, I messed up. Here's this. Let's get it squared away.
Yeah.
Or even help the guy find another load. Even.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. I get it. When it comes down to it, the truck order not used is not a fun conversation to be having. But yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying about those ones that just cancel and then say pound sand, a la they found a cheaper truck, you're out. Like let's call it what it is. That's exactly what it is. And I think that, again, I'm never immune to any of these issues. I have experienced and partook in some of that shady shit. I'll never shy away from that stuff. But again, you hit that point, man, where it's like, I had that conversation with a customer, hey, they're like, hey, we paid you for this. Why is this carrier calling me and saying that they never got any money for the truck or not used? That's a real situation,
And
and it's like,
I haven't seen too many. The like based off your experiences, like how many customers? Like I have, 3, 4 of my own customers here at Denver. When they cancel a load, they don't pay a truck order not used. That's out of the broker's pocket 9 times out of 10, right? From what I've seen, basically. I mean,
yes, no.
How often does, the customer that gives you 100 loads a month canceled one on you, and now he's going to pay you $150 truck
It
order?
depends.
I'd almost feel embarrassed to ask.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, I understand that. It depends. I think some of the large enterprise shippers, RFP style shippers, that's in the RFP. That's a line item on there. And again, like that's how, as one of my former customers put it, that's how they judge their third party warehouses that they utilize, is based on those accessorial fees. It's based off of the detention time. They need to be notified of this stuff. They need to be charged that, because that's how they gauge that. But yes, in the open deck world in particular, some of the smaller regional shippers that I worked with, they didn't, but I would pay my driver that, because I did 150 loads a month with this customer. I do, 70 loads with that truck. I might not pay you on that load per se, but I'll make it up to you. You'll get that money in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
And it'll be
and I hate when people like brokers, like especially new brokers, they come into the game and they're just breaking down everything on a load by load basis. They're not looking at the big picture. It's just load by load. Sometimes you got to look at the big picture. If you book a guy on 25 loads, 30 loads, a month, and you screw him over on $150 for a tono and he stops booking with you, I mean, who lost there, you or him?
Yeah.
So.
No, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I got to get caught up on some of these comments out there. John DeCillo, what's up, man? He was on my podcast. He's an owner operator. John Pruitt. This makes me fun. This makes me laugh. John was at the conference with the LTNA out in Austin. He's the guy who brought all the certain energy drinks that were there. I'm not going to say it because I don't want his fucking inbox to get bombarded with shit.
I remember.
Yeah. Millie, what's going on? And then Chandler, here he is. 90% of our clients pay truck order not used. The other 10% won't want us to take care of the trucks, and they make it up elsewhere. Yeah. So again, I think it's that reciprocation piece of it, where, it's just like, man, I had instances as well where, literally it was like an act of God style scenario where I had an open deck driver had a windshield get broken out in transit when they were driving. A rock got kicked up off of another semi and busted out the windshield. Obviously the customer's not going to, assume any responsibility there. The carrier. And so it's like, we worked that stuff out. We're like, hey, listen, thankfully it was a inter-transfer between my customer. So they're like, listen, the cost of the windshield is X. And I'm like, do you want to go 50-50 on it? I'll split it with you. Just make the situation go and we'll make it happen.
It's longevity. I feel like the more you look at it with customers and relationships in general, the more you look at it with as longevity, I feel like the more success you'll have in them.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the way it is, man. It's like, you can't, and again, admittedly, I was a young broker one time too. I only looked at it at a transaction by transaction basis. I only looked at it when I came in and said, I have 15 loads to cover today. And then it was like fucking Groundhog's Day, where I'd wake up the next day and be like, oh, I didn't pre-book anything. I'm not thinking ahead. I'm not trying to reutilize carriers. And for me, it's just one of those things where you have to look out. You have to look out in advance. You have to pre-plan because, again, not to sound like a broken windshield, Chandler, broken windshield, dad joke. We have to keep our carriers off of spot markets. That's where spot market carriers who only play that singular thing. They're a transaction by transaction carrier. The ones who only want to sit out there, who don't have any real rhyme or reason on how they operate, except for, that load pays that load pays a lot. I'm going to go there. And then they get there and then there's nothing out of there. So it's like, it's so important. And again, it's like, have these conversations. Like, if I was your broker, Honest, I'm going to be talking to you right now, or, I would have been at the end of 21. Hey, what's your business goals for 2022? How can we help you achieve them? How can I help you remain profitable? Because as a broker, you're nothing without your carriers. And I think a lot of brokers out there realize that.
Yep, exactly. I mean, brokers kind of, I mean, nowadays, it's that type of industry where, they're also dealing with a lot, I mean, you can't expect a guy to manage, 500 carriers and touch base with every single one with them. But definitely, as a customer, if you have like direct relationship with some type of guy, just kind of touching base with them, what kind of, business goals and all that stuff. With the broker, it's a little bit tougher to do, I feel like, because you're basically going off his lanes, and if you don't have lanes out of that area, you might not match something up. So I mean, that it's a tough kind of game to play as a broker, because you're the middleman, and necessarily you don't have the trucks, nor do you have the freight. I mean, you could help find the freight, but if you don't get the freight at the end of the day, the truck goes in, it doesn't get used. So it's kind of that type of industry,
Yeah, no, I got you, man. And it is tough as a broker at times, but I also think that, there's a very, very right way of doing this job and a very, very wrong way of doing this job. And
And
I think that,
that
like,
is,
yeah, we don't control the freight. There's a lot that I can't control, but what I can control is how I deliver those messages. I firmly believe that none of my customers nor my carrier should ever be reaching out to me for anything. I should be informing them of everything. It's like talking about detention. Hey, I should never let my driver's phone call go to voicemail. All right. Like, take his call, let them know, hey, this is where we're at. It's a lot of those scenarios that I think it's a lot to me. The more and more I talk to drivers, honest, and, and especially with the more and more we talk, it's more of the little things that piss you guys off than it is like the one event. It's the misses on the little things, and stuff like that. John's got a question. What's something that you would identify in for a shipper of choice? What's your top 3 things?
I mean, definitely if he has capacity in the areas, that are your lanes that could work at both parties, that's one. 2 is definitely, the how, again, when we go back, how that person at the end of the day is going to pay you, and keep the wheels churning for your whole company. And 3, I believe, is honesty. If that customer isn't transparent, what he's trying to do with you, how he's trying to run you, what he needs, because necessarily, you don't even, me as a carrier, I'm not even, if a customer needs help on a lane and can't find a truck to cover it, I'm not the guy that's going to say, hey, no, I'm not going to take that lane because I don't run that lane. Like, come up to me, ask me, hey, can you cover this lane this week, and let's work on it. Like, let's always try to kind of work with that person, other than, just thinking he's not going to want to run that and then give it to somebody else. I'll take it sometimes. If you want to work with me, I'll work with you.
Okay. So it's a lot. All right. I get that. How important are, like, I know, like, we only got like 2 minutes left. What about, do you not work with shippers that don't allow your drivers to use a restroom at their facility? Do you stop sending your trucks in there?
We haven't ran into a lot of that.
Okay. That's good.
We did when it was COVID, but I mean, if the place isn't allowing the driver to use the restroom, we've told drivers, if you have to use the restroom and you have your trailer in the dock, lower your landing gear, pull out, make sure everything is safe, good to go, use the restroom, come back. I asked him, can you rehook? I mean, at the end of the day, you can't, make a guy not go to the restroom. That's that's not proficient.
No, absolutely, man. And again, yeah, I mean, it's the fact that there's facilities out there, and it doesn't seem like there's a shortage of them. It seems like there's kind of,
But some of the people in this industry that we're in maybe aren't helping that, because maybe they go into the restroom, cause a scene in the restroom. But you got to be respectful wherever you go, as a trucking company, as a driver, as no matter what, just be respectful, be professional. That's the way to go about it.
absolutely, man. And that's what another one of those things I love about you, man, is you understand that some of the scenarios we find ourselves, it's that accountability thing. You guys hold yourselves to a higher standard at BTI. You guys hold yourselves accountable and your drivers accountable for what you guys are doing out there. And and that's what it is, man. That's what is going to shift the trajectory of this industry, is this hard look in the mirror on what can I do differently in my role today to improve this industry. So
Absolutely.
honest, Thank you, man. We're kind of coming up on time here. I appreciate you joining and throwing out the carrier's perspective, because I know that it's, at the end of the day, man, these are the conversations that need to happen.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate you having me, man.
No, absolutely. Thank you for everybody who's out there in the comments. I appreciate you guys all so much. We'll be back next week, noon Central Time. Yeah, sorry, I'm messed up on time zones and everything. We'll be back noon Central Time. I appreciate you guys. Yes, Rhonda, this replay will be out there. Thank you guys all so much. And thank you to my sponsor, friends over at Bitfreighter. Check them out. We'll talk to you guys soon.